Hello again, welcome back everyone. LiquorHound here with you. Thank you for joining me for another spirit review video. And today we've got two amazing bourbons to look at, both coming from the Four Roses Distillery there in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. And let me say this, if you're unfamiliar with what Four Roses has been doing recently, they are on top of the bourbon world right now. Yes, Buffalo Trace still does amazing work with the antique collection. Yes, the Pappy Van Winkle line is still stellar when you can get it. But that's been the problem with Buffalo Trace within the last few years, is the allocations have been so low that getting your hands on a bottle is almost like hitting the lottery. As far as these two are concerned, you'll get a little better luck finding these. Maybe not so much on this 2012, but definitely this 2013. And the reason for that is this 2012 limited edition small batch, there was only 4,062 bottles released. Not very many. You throw on top of that this is coming from Four Roses Distillery, which was named the Distillery of the Year the last 3 years by Whiskey Magazine, and that this 2012 won American Whiskey of the Year through the Malt Advocate, and these 4,062 bottles disappeared like that. So, that brings us to this year's release, 2013 limited edition small batch. This one, they're not going to make the same mistake. They're celebrating their 125th anniversary, so they want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to get a bottle. There's going to be 12,468 bottles. That's 3 times the amount of last year's. So if you really look for this one, you're probably going to be able to find it. Now this just came out in my area this week. So I'm trying to get this review out quickly so that you can learn, hear what I have to say about both of these, and you can make a decision whether you want to get this 2013 when it shows up on your shelf. Alright, real quick, again, technicals. Small batch. They use a different blend of their recipes in each one of these. Four Roses actually does 10 different recipes. It's really a lot simpler than just a bunch of different mash bills. They have 2 different mash bills. One's going to be 75% corn, only 20% rye, so kind of a low rye recipe there. And the other one is going to be 60% corn, a little bit less corn, and 35% rye, a little higher rye. Both of those have 5% malted barley on the end, but that's the 2 mash bills that they really use. They combine those 2 mash bills with 5 different yeast strains. So basically 10 different recipes that they barrel and age. Now from those 10 recipes, they combine usually 2, maybe 3 different recipes per bottle. What we have in the 2012 was actually an OBSV 17, an OBSV 11, so same exact recipe, just one 17-year, one 11-year, an OBSK 12, and an OESK 12. Okay, if you're unfamiliar with what all those letters means, let me break it down real quick, really simply. The O is going to start out every single one of them. That simply means it was distilled in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky at Four Roses. That's the O. The next letter, that's the important one. The B or the E, that's going to be that mash bill. Is it going to be the high corn, low rye, or is it going to be the lower corn, the little bit higher rye? If it's B, it's high rye, 60% corn, 35% rye. If it's E, it's going to be high corn, 75% corn, low rye, only 20% rye. So that's the difference, B, E. The S is going to be on every single one of them. That's just saying it's straight whiskey, 2 years aged. And finally, that last letter, that's going to be the yeast strain that's used. V is going to be delicately fruity. K, mildly spicy. O, robust and fruity. Q is going to be floral. And F is going to be lightly herbal. Alright, so when you're looking at the back of that bottle, that's what you're going to see. Alright, the 2013 just uses 3 different ones. OBSV, 18-year-old, OBSK, 13-year-old, OESK, 13. So basically you're using 2 of the high ryes, 1 with a delicately fruity yeast, 1 with a mild spicy yeast, and 1 that's going to be the high corn low rye with the spicy yeast. That's what's going into this one. Alright, let's go ahead and get to the nosing. Enough of all that, right? 2012, this is the award winner. 111 is beautiful whiskey right off the bat. Sweet, caramel brown sugar, cherries, a little bit of cedar, raspberries, and a little bit of a cigar box. Fair amount of oak and vanilla in there as well. That's the 2012. Now let's look at the 2013. So you can tell by the colors, they're actually pretty similar in color. Even though this uses a little bit of 18-year-old versus the oldest one, and this one was 17, colors are almost identical. 103.2. The one thing I can say about this one's been sitting in that glass a few minutes. When I first poured it, again, it was a little bit, the alcohol was definitely coming out. Even at 103.2, it was just a little strong. Let it sit a few minutes, it'll really open up. A little more, it has very similar aspects to this one, just not as sweet on the nose. I still get the cedar, I still get the cherries, the raspberries, the vanilla. I still get like a cigar box, almost like a pipe tobacco. When you combine that amount of vanilla with the cigar, you kind of get a pipe tobacco feel. And the oak note is definitely there. Feeling a little bit of cedar in there, and a touch of mint as well. Alright, let's get to the actual tasting. Again, we'll start with the 2012, the award winner, 111.4 proof. It's a combination of spicy, and the initial impact is very smooth. For a 111, it's just so smooth and silky, but there is that spice kick as well, so you have to be prepared for that. Yep. Caramel, brown sugar, cinnamon spice, cherries, a little bit of plum, maybe raspberries. It's fairly big on the fruit. Fairly big on like a caramel and vanilla. Tobacco on that finish. Drying just a touch on that finish. But the nice thing is that the tobacco kind of comes in, doesn't overpower anybody. The fruits are still lingering. The cinnamon spice, once you get that initial swell, that spike, it really calms down and kind of marries in with the fruits and the oak, the brown sugar, the vanilla. Very, very nice stuff. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a little water to that, and we're going to see if that's going to change things. At 111, it's going to need a little bit. Alright, now we'll go ahead and go right to the 2013. 103.2 proof. Wow. One thing to know about this 2013, Jimmy Rutledge did say that he thought this could possibly be the best bourbon he ever bottled. So keep that in mind. Wow. Bigger on the palate than it even was on the nose. Really rich and cherry note. Brown sugar and cherry. Little bit of plum. A little bit of oak tannins right on that mid palate. So a touch of like a little bit of like a black tea where you start getting that little dryness, that little touch of bitter, but it works just fine with this one because the bourbon is already so sweet. You do have all the fruits and the vanilla and the oak note coming through, so that oak tannin is pretty much expected, especially when you're talking about an 18-year-old that's in this one. But those two 13-year-old in the blend actually tend to keep it really alive and keep those tannins from becoming a little too powerful. Won't put as much in that one since it's only 103.2. The tobacco on that one felt a little more just loose leaf tobacco, whereas that one was more pipe tobacco. Alright, now that water's been added, back to the 2012. Wow, calm that cinnamon kick. Still has a little spice swell, not nearly as pointed as it was initially. It definitely needs a little water on that one. The fruits are still there. The oak doesn't feel as bitter. It's very rich in the cedar note. That's the other thing I'm getting in that one. There's a little bit of mint and a little bit of cedar on that finish. So it's a really well-rounded bourbon in my opinion. Let's see this 2013. Whoa. It's going to be a close call. It's a little more robust, a little more in the I don't know, it's like it has the caramel, it has the brown sugar. It almost feels like it has a little bit of coffee bean in there, a little bit of dark chocolate. To go right along with that little bit of cinnamon. Touch of orange peel as well. That water really opened it up. The oak tannins don't seem as bitter once I added the water. Wow, that's really, really good bourbon. Really, I can't complain about either one. I understand why that was voted American Whiskey of the Year, and I'm looking forward to some big reviews on this 2013. So that's going to be it for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Everybody have a great evening, and cheers.